You're listening to Giant Steps with Leilani Brown. This episode is a little different. What you're about to hear is a speech I gave at the Citadel, one of the nation's 6 senior military colleges, home to roughly 2,300 cadets in the South Carolina Corps of Cadets, where leadership training and a commitment to service are central to the experience. I delivered these remarks on the MLK holiday last year, and it also happened to fall on Inauguration Day, which made the moment especially meaningful for reflection. And here's why I'm sharing it now. This episode is publishing on January 15th, Dr. King's actual birthday, and that felt like the right day to share it in his honor. Thanks for being here, and thank you for listening. And I'll leave you with Dr. King's reminder: the time is always right to do what's right.
Good morning. Thank you for being here so early. What an exciting day and have a great. I'm so excited to be here and to be in community with you. I was just chatting with a gentleman in the back. He asked me, "Are you from New York? Are you from here?" And I said, "Well, no, I'm from New York. But my dad is from St. Stephen. And he was an Army, he's an Army veteran. My mother is from Queens, and we were raised, my sister and I, in Queens, New York. But when I moved back to South Carolina about 5 years ago, just before or through the pandemic, it felt like a homecoming. I've been coming to South Carolina and being here since I was 2 months old. And so coming back and forth in the summers, as most Black kids would do, coming in and out of New York City. I'm having a father that grew up in St. Stephen, and he was always so excited when we would drive down 95 and then we'd hit South Blue Water. And I never really came to Charleston until I was 30. Because, we'd ask the question of my father, and he'd say, "How come you never showed us Charleston?" He was like, "Because St. Stephen is where it's at." So, good morning to him. Today I want to talk about Dr. King and move beyond the notions of nonviolence. And I'll start with this quote from actually Theodore Parker, but it was often used by Dr. King. "The arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice." Dr. Martin Luther King often invoked this powerful metaphor, reminding us that justice is neither quick nor inevitable, but requires relentless effort, courage, and leadership. And these words are actually etched in stone at the MLK Memorial in Washington, D.C., standing as a permanent reminder of the enduring vision. And if you haven't yet visited, I encourage you to do so. Spend some time there in a moment of reflection. The monument is absolutely beautiful, and it's a striking testament to Dr. King's legacy and a powerful reminder that the work of justice is both ongoing and unfinished. And today, as we gather to honor Dr. King's legacy, it is no small irony that this day also marks the inauguration. And this is a moment that underscores the intersection of leadership, legacy, and the challenges inherent in leading a democratic society. This is a time to reflect on what leadership truly demands, what it demands of us, not just in moments of triumph, but in the midst of division, uncertainty, and change. Leadership, like justice, is often complex, controversial, and deeply human. We revere Dr. King now as a national hero, but that wasn't always the case. So I'm here to tell a little bit of truth. In fact, in 1966, a Gallup poll revealed that only 33% of Americans viewed Dr. King favorably, a stark contrast to the reverence he receives today. Only 33%. And why is that? Well, this was likely because Dr. King didn't just comfort people and was not used in the way he's often used today. He challenged them. He called out moral contradictions, he disrupted systems that perpetuated inequality, and he demanded that people confront their own complicity in injustice. And as he famously said, "In the end, we will not remember the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends." Dr. King understood that complicity often comes in the form of inaction. and he called on everyone to take a stand even when it was uncomfortable or unpopular. And he persisted. And that's the kind of leadership we're here to reflect on today. The kind that doesn't chase popularity, but pursues purpose. As Dr. King often reminded us, America is an experiment. It's an experiment. It is unfinished, imperfect, and full of possibility. And all of you, and especially the cadets, I'm so pleased to see you and meet you this morning, are part of that experiment. This institution, the Citadel, has evolved over time, adapting to reflect the values of an ever-changing society. And that was not easy work. Your role in this ongoing experiment is crucial as you prepare to lead with courage, service, and the ability to inspire transformation, even when it challenges the status quo. That is why today I want to talk about more than marches, more than speeches, and more than the quote-unquote training that we all want to so well. I want to talk about courage, service, and the kind of leadership that inspires lasting change. Let's explore not only the well-known aspects of Dr. King's legacy, but also his lesser-known yet equally powerful words and ideas because they remain as relevant and resonant today as they were decades ago. And perhaps nowhere is this relevance more apparent than in Dr. King's teachings on service and leadership. Peace is not merely a distant goal that we seek, but a means by which we arrive at that goal. Dr. King's words here are highlighting a profound truth, that leadership at its core begins with service. Peace, like leadership, is not simply an outcome to be achieved, but a practice to be embodied, a means as much as it is an end. And it is through humility and love-centered action that leaders earn the trust and respect of those they guide. And service is not passive. It's not passive at all. It is bold. It demands courage, vision, and often sacrifice. And we can see this courage reflected in the story of Charles Foster, the first Black cadet at the Citadel in the 1960s. His admission was not just a milestone in the institution's history, it was an act of leadership and courage that challenged the status quo and required incredible resilience. It couldn't have been easy for Foster. Foster's journey exemplified Dr. King's belief that service often requires standing firm in the face of resistance, and that true leadership is measured not just by comfort, but by the willingness to engage with discomfort for the greater good. Servant leadership, as Dr. King modeled, is often quiet and done in peace, from calm. It doesn't always seek recognition or reward. It's not always about, look at me, but instead focuses on the transformative impact it can have on others. It is the kind of leadership that understands the deep interconnection between service, trust, and peace. I ask you to think about this as you consider your role as leaders and future leaders. And let Dr. King's words remind you that the path to peace is not paved with ease. It requires empathy, action, and a commitment to justice. And it requires the courage to lead with humility and the willingness to serve not just tradition, but the people and the communities that you will guide. This commitment to serving others extended beyond spiritual and social realms into the practical, everyday concerns of working people. Interestingly, Dr. King's last campaign, his final campaign, and his final words to us was with the Memphis sanitation workers, ordinary men demanding dignity in their labor. He famously said, if a man is called to be a street sweeper, he should sweep streets even as Michelangelo painted, or Beethoven composed music, or Shakespeare wrote poetry. He should sweep streets so well that all the hosts of heaven and earth will pause to say, here lived a great street sweeper who did his job well. If you visited the International African American Museum, you may have seen images of people, men marching with signs declaring, I am a man. Those activists, those bold words were a rallying cry, a profound affirmation of humanity in a society that often denied their existence. These visuals remain powerful reminders of a movement that was as much about recognition and respect as it was economic justice. Dr. King stood with the sanitation workers in Memphis because he believed economic justice was inseparable from human dignity. Economic justice, human dignity combined. This wasn't merely a fight for better wages or safer worker conditions. It was a fight for respect, equity, and visibility. His quote about the street sweeper is often taken out of context, but its meaning is profound. He wasn't minimizing their work, he was elevating it. His words remind us that every role, no matter how humble, has inherent dignity. True leadership, as King saw it, requires honoring and uplifting the dignity of others, regardless of their position. Today, as we reflect on King's legacy, let us think about those who need to be lifted up. The firefighters, many of them incarcerated men and women battling wildfires in California. The essential workers who kept us going through the COVID-19 pandemic. Even the roles that you, I, the cadets will play in the future. The dignity of labor, the thank you, the appropriate thank you and acknowledgement to craft services for meeting us here today and providing that level of hospitality. The dignity of labor applies to all of us, regardless of rank or status. So the fight in Memphis wasn't just about labor, it was about justice. And King's broader vision, expressed through the Poor People's Campaign, aimed to address systemic inequities in housing, education, and employment that persist even now. And these struggles are not relics of history. They remain deeply relevant as we confront the challenges of systemic poverty, wealth inequality, and the ongoing need to respect and uplift the dignity of work. Dr. King's messages challenge us not just to recognize the humanity of others, but to actively honor it. And as leaders, we're called to respect every individual and lead in ways that uplift humanity. This is the kind of leadership that transforms lives, communities, and ultimately society itself. But such transformation rarely happens overnight, as Dr. King well understood it. Do not be weary in well-doing, for in due season we shall reap, if we faint not. In other words, we will get there if we don't give up. Change is rarely swift and progress often feels frustratingly slow. Dr. King knew this well. His letter from a Birmingham jail reminds us freedom is never voluntarily given by the oppressor. It must be demanded by the oppressed. Even the establishment of Martin Luther King Jr. Day as a federal holiday in 1983 was a hard-fought victory. It took nearly 2 decades of relentless advocacy met with resistance at every time. So this is a recent holiday. It required the combined efforts of activists, artists like Harry Belafonte and Aretha Franklin, and the unwavering determination of Coretta Scott King. And this holiday isn't just a day off, it's a day on. It's a day to reflect, to serve, and to recommit ourselves to the ongoing work of justice and equity. But sometimes we forget just how recent these achievements are. You may notice in documentaries or museum exhibits the increasing depiction of civil rights movements in color photography. Did anybody notice that? Yes. Well, these are not colorized images. They are the original photos. We actually had color photography in the 60s. But it's tricky, right? Because when we view black and white photography, it's easy to think that these events happened in some distant past, and they didn't. They occurred within living memory, perhaps in your parents' or your grandparents' lifetimes, or even your own. And it is a reminder of what is possible in our lifetimes and gives us some perspective. And what was possible remains possible now, though the challenges we face have evolved. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Dr. King saw democracy not as a finished product, but as an experiment. Imperfection to him was not a cause for despair, but a call to action. He understood that leadership means embracing this imperfection and working to make the world better, step by step. Our leadership extends beyond borders. We are called to do so beyond borders. Today's challenges are not confined to a single nation or a single group of people, and they are not, quote unquote, other people's problems. These are shared challenges. Beyond and including racism and sexism, things like climate change, the refugee crisis, human rights violations, and economic inequality require a global response. It means seeking understanding before judgment. It means holding yourself and each other accountable to moral and ethical principles. It also means acting with courage, even when the path is not the right path, it's not the easiest one. Yet, as we consider these challenges, we also must be mindful of how to interpret and apply Dr. King's teachings. Shallow understanding from people of goodwill is more frustrating than absolute misunderstanding from people of ill will. Lukewarm acceptance is much more bewildering than outright rejection. Dr. King's legacy is often oversimplified, reduced to sound bites and about dreams and unity, while ignoring the sacrifices, resistance, and the disruption that he demanded. Nonviolence was not passive, it was disruptive. It forced people to confront injustice and demanded meaningful change. Even as we celebrate Dr. King's life, we must ask ourselves, are we at risk of being unintentionally co-opting his legacy? Are we focusing only on the parts of his story that feel inspiring while overlooking the challenge that he left for us? One of Dr. King's most famous lines, "I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character." Most of us can probably recite that phrase. Is among the most widely quoted, but often misused. Some interpret this as a call to ignore race altogether, using it to defend a colorblind approach to society, but this was never his intention. He was not advocating for ignoring race. He was calling for a world where race would no longer be a barrier to opportunity, dignity, and equality. His vision was one of liberation, where systemic racism, prejudice, and injustice no longer overshadow the apparent worth of a person's character. To use this quote to dismiss discussions of race or to avoid addressing systemic inequities is to strip it of its true power and context, reducing King's call for justice to a superficial soundbite. But let me give you another example, perhaps a little bit more lighthearted. And I'm going to pull this up on my phone. Now, how many of you, you're laughing because you know it. I'm gonna call us all out. How many of us sing that song at birthday celebrations? Raise your hand. And you should. But it's a powerful example. This song wasn't just a celebration, but it was a rallying cry. Stevie Wonder wrote Happy Birthday to support the campaign to develop Dr. King's birthday as a national holiday. And at the time, it wasn't an easy fight, and it took years of relentless advocacy, public pressure, and a lot of rotations of this song. And this is a magical way where Wonder's music intersected with activism, art and activism, in a way that brought public attention to the campaign, mobilizing people to honor King's vision. And so we all are at risk of misinterpreting, misapplying, sanitizing, co-opting the use of Dr. King's legacy. So we're all responsible for carrying forward the truth. All too often we hear a sanitized version of Dr. King's legacy, one that focuses on dreams while ignoring the sacrifice to resistance and the confrontation that he demanded. This superficial understanding is particularly dangerous in our current era. And I would just say that in today's age of instant access to information and rapid technological advancement, like AI, we must go beyond mere consumption. We are called to both learn and discern. And there is a difference. Do not abandon the responsibility or the opportunity to do both. Discernment is critical. We must all learn, think, and act intentionally. And learning without discernment risks shallow understanding, and discernment without learning risks inaction, and both are necessary. Dr. King's legacy challenges us to embrace this dual responsibility, leading boldly and thoughtfully in the face of complexity. And this combination of thoughtful discernment and bold action is not just an abstract ideal, it's a practical necessity for leadership in today's world. And it leads us to a crucial question. How do we move from understanding to action, from discernment to doing? The time is always right to do right. So as we honor Dr. King on this Inauguration Day, his daughter Bernice King suggested that we not tune out the world, but instead, at the right time and when you're ready, lean in and deeply reflect on what his legacy demands of us today, and then act with purpose and conviction. And I leave you with 4 commitments that the King Center offered. 1, explore the root issues of social ills and sustained ideologies. 2, educate about and eradicate hate and injustice without soiling your soul. Transform systems that discriminate. And build a beloved community and a society with compassion. I will personally commit to upholding these principles, and I invite you to do the same. Leadership is about progress, persistence, and purpose. It's about embracing the discomfort of change, stepping into the work of justice, even when it's hard, even when it feels uncertain, because it's the only way to create a better future. The time to lead is now. The time to act is now. And as Dr. King reminded us, the time is always right to do what's right. Thank you for having me.
This podcast is a production of Giant Steps, LLC, a company working at the intersection of strategy, culture, career, and education. I'm Leilani Brown, CEO and host of the show. Many thanks to Jaira Michael, our executive producer, and S. Maxwell Brown, producer and editor of this episode. You can learn more about our company at giantstepsllc.com. We hope you enjoyed this episode and others. Please be sure to follow, like, and share our show far and wide. Thank you for listening.